Hey guys, so before we start talking about multiplying and dividing integers, we're going to just do a quick review on adding and subtracting integers and how they interact with each other. Just before we continue, I just want to make a note that there are questions that do pop up throughout the video. Do your best to answer those questions. Don't just skip them. It's valuable feedback for Ms. Nelson and I to know what it is you guys are understanding and what you guys aren't. That's just about it. So when we're talking about adding and subtracting, remember, order of operations says that when addition and subtraction are left, we work from left to right. So for this particular problem, we're going to start out by doing -5 plus -6. Well, if the signs are the same, we add them together and we keep the sign we had. So -5 plus -6 is -11. And we're just going to take this -8 here and drop it down. So now we have a new problem. It says -11 minus 8, and we can apply the leave change method. We will leave the -11, change the minus to a plus, and change the +8 to a -8. So now we have -11 plus -8. The signs are the same, so we add. The signs are the same, so we add. And we keep the sign that we had, so this is negative. So -5 plus -6 minus 8 is equal to -19. Okay, in just a second, a pop-up window should pop up and ask you to answer these questions. Okay, so if you've answered the questions, let's take a look at them. So -8 minus 4 is where we're going to start, and we're going to use the leave change here because this is a subtraction problem. So we leave the -8, change the minus to a plus, and change the +4 to a -4. Okay, just remember, we're working with just this part right now. We're going to deal with the +6 in a moment. So -8 plus -4, since the signs are the same, we add them together and we keep the sign we had. Now we're going to take this +6 and we're just going to drop it down there. So -12 plus 6, well, the signs are different here, so we subtract. 12 minus 6 is 6, and we take the sign of the larger number, and in this case the larger number is 12, so our answer here is -6, which means -8 minus 4 plus 6 is indeed -6. Okay, so moving on to number 2, we have -5 plus 8 is where we're going to start. We're just going to start with the first part here. So -5 plus 8, -5 plus 8, the signs are different, so we subtract. 8 minus 5 is 3. And we keep the sign of the larger number, and in this case, the larger number is positive. So we drop down our minus -7 right here. And we apply leave change. We leave the 3, change the minus to a plus, and we change the -7 to a +7. 3 plus 7 is simply 10. Which means -5 plus 8 minus -7 is equal to 10. Okay, so here's another 2 questions for you guys to try out. Okay, so if you've answered the questions, the same method that we answered the last 2, we'll start out with 8 minus -4. This will use the leave change method. Sorry, I wrote it a little bit too close to the top of the screen there. So we leave the 8, we change the minus to a plus, and we change the -4 to a +4. So we'll do 8 plus 4, which is simply just 12. And we'll take this +3, and we drop it down. And we do 12 plus 3 is 15. That was pretty easy. So 8 minus -4 plus 3 is simply just 15. Okay, number 4, we have 9 plus 8. Well, 9 plus 8 is 17. We don't need to do anything special for that one. Minus negative 5. Here we'll apply leave, change. We leave the 17, change the minus to a plus, change the negative 5 to a positive 5. 17 plus 5 is simply 22, which means 9 plus 8 minus negative 5 is 22. Okay, so now moving along to multiplying and dividing, the first thing I want to talk about is the tic-tac-toe board. Okay, if you have difficulty remembering if a positive times a negative is a negative and all those little rules, there's a simple mnemonic device that we can use to help us out. And this is something that I encourage you to memorize. If you're taking a test and you want to write this down on the top of your test before you do it, go for it. So the way this works is we put the pluses down the first diagonal as if it were tic-tac-toe. And then we fill in all the other boxes with a minus. How this works out is that if you look at the first row, it says a positive times a negative is a negative, and it also works with division. A positive divided by a negative is a negative. Now if we look at the second row, it says a negative times or divided by a positive is a negative as well. Now finally, if we look at the third row, it tells us a negative times or divided by another negative is a positive. Okay? And very simply, the one that we always knew is if you look down our diagonal right here, it says a positive times a positive or positive divided by a positive is simply a positive, but that's something we always knew. Okay, so the rules for multiplying and dividing is just a matter of knowing what signs are what. So if we look at our first example here, negative 7 times negative 8, well, if we go back, a negative times a negative is a positive. So a negative times this negative means that the answer is going to be positive. And 7 times 8 is 56. And as we already found out, the sign is positive, so it's positive 56. Similarly, if we do the division statement, negative 56 divided by negative 7, we can see that it is a negative divided by a negative, which means our answer is going to be positive. 56 divided by 7 is 8, and as we just discussed, it will be negative 8. Excuse that stray mark there. Okay, so here's an example of a negative times a positive. We can see that this is negative 6 times positive 5. So a negative times a positive is a negative. So that means our answer is going to be negative. So 6 times 5 is 30, so our answer here is negative 30. Okay, so if we look at the division statement underneath, it says negative 15 divided by negative 3. That's a negative divided by a negative, which is a positive. And 15 divided by 3 is simply just 5. Okay, so here we have another example of a positive times a negative. 12 times negative 3 is a positive times a negative, which means our answer is going to be negative. And 12 times negative 3 is negative 36. Okay, finally, we have 36 divided by negative 3. It's a positive divided by a negative, which means our answer is going to be negative, and 36 divided by 3 is 12. Okay, that's it for today's lesson. If you have any questions, send us an email. Like I said, please try to answer the questions at the end of the video as well as the ones in the middle of the video. Okay, thank you very much.